Hello ladies and gentlemen, my name is Andrew Stott, I'm the Emperor of Stomaria, and today I want to discuss how we're going to be building closer ties with the Empire of Aeternia. Now, the first thing I'd like to say is that the Empire of Stomaria, particularly in the last 6 months, has been focused primarily on building the Empire of Stomaria into an actual empire through the incorporation of other micronations into Stomaria. In that way, we're hoping to build the genuine community, the real world community, and the trading network that we've been looking to establish for a long time now. And forming like alliances or even having formal relations with other micronations outside of the Empire of Stomaria is not something that we've considered for a very long time now. But there are a few micronations, and I'm talking 1 or 2, which we are, actively looking to build that relationship with, because they've established themselves as, very significant micronations in their own right in recent years, and it wouldn't be, I'm trying to think a word, it wouldn't be proper to incorporate them into the Empire of Stomaria necessarily as associated states or protectorates or whatever else. But in the case of the Empire of Aeternia in particular, they have a very strong following. They have a good presence on social media, particularly on YouTube. I mean, if people are searching for micronations and micronationalism, then the Empire of Aeternia will be one of those micronations that do come up. And because of their significant social media following on YouTube, they've basically proven themselves, as far as we're concerned, in terms of their content, in terms of their contributions to the community, in terms of their efforts to make it less of a cesspit. We are looking to build closer ties with the Empire of Aeternia, closer relations with the Empire of Aeternia, and I think this video might be potentially jumping the gun a little bit, in the sense that we've not formalized anything in particular, but I did want to make this video to go over what exactly we're hoping to do, myself and Emperor AP, as to how we're going to be building those closer ties, how we're going to be building that relationship. Again, a real world relationship and a real world trading network. Because unlike most micronations, they do have they do have a lot going on in the Empire of Aeternia, in the real world. They're not just an online thing, they're not just a Reddit micronation or a Twitter micronation. They're actually doing things in the real world. They're actually, making things, they're actually purchasing things, they're actually getting people to contribute their time, their energy, and their occasionally small amount financially to the Empire of Aeternia, to their project, and the things that they're trying to do there. And I can appreciate how hard that is, being, the Emperor of Stomaria, being, a micronationalist for the last 2.5 years now. It is difficult. And so taking all of those things into account, I really want to work on building that relationship, building that strong connection, because it will be very much mutually beneficial, I think, because we both have quite sizable followings, and the idea or the belief that we can build something, together, in a more formal way is quite an exciting prospect. And so, like I said, I just want to go over what we have discussed and what we hope to be doing over the next, potentially before the end of the year, so the next few weeks, next few months, the things that we're going to be looked towards doing. But before I delve into that, I did want to mention that although the Empire of Stomaria and the Empire of Aeternia do share some common objectives, some common goals, in terms of building a real-world community, in terms of building a trading network or a trading relationship between different people or between different micronations, in terms of purchasing private land which can be utilized to advance our goals. There are nonetheless some differences, not significant enough to cause any issues between us, but I would say that the Empire of Aeternia is a bit more liberal, a bit more of the left, if you like. I dislike the left-right spectrum jargon myself, but they are slightly more left-wing than the Empire of Stomaria, which is primarily more libertarian, more socially conservative, I suppose. It's a bit more, about individual rights, about natural rights, whereas the Empire of Aeternia, I think, is more focused on what you would call positive rights. I won't go into all of the nitty-gritty here, but suffice to say that the Empire of Aeternia and the Empire of Stomaria differ in our ideological approach, I think is probably the best way to describe it, but not to the extent that it would, hamper relations between us. It's not as if, they're advocating for extremist things. They're not an extremist ideology, and they, I think, share our own views on that in terms of keeping particularly fascistic or Nazi micronations, not just at arm's length, but, wishing that they had absolutely no part to play within the micronational community. So they're not an extremist micronation ideologically at all, but there are some differences there between the Empire of Stomaria and the Empire of Aeternia. But to go on a little further than this, a little bit more detail in terms of how we're looking to achieve our goals and objectives. We are obviously both empires, but the Empire of Aeternia is very much focused on building the Empire of Aeternia, in the sense that they are not taking our own approach, which is to allow micronations to become a part of Stomaria and retain their allow the micronational leaders or the highest authority of those micronations to retain their titles, and for those micronations to retain a greater deal of autonomy. We're trying to build like a loose federation of micronations, if you like, which is based around trade, commerce, and enterprise. Whereas the Empire of Aeternia is more focused on building a cultural empire, in the sense that they don't want other micronations to join them. They want other micronationalists to join them. And this is a good approach to have in terms of establishing, a single micronation with a single identity. And it is it's something that we ourselves were hoping to do quite early on when we founded Stomaria. But we quickly found that the pool of people in the micronational community is already very small. And it's smaller still when you weed out the people who would be unsuitable in building that real-world community, primarily, children or those advocating for ideologies which we find abhorrent. And so, this system that we have is a way of allowing other micronations and other micronationalists to become a part of something larger, whereas the Empire of Aeternia, they are focused on, again, building the Empire of Aeternia as a single identity, as a single micronation, as a single cultural identity, I should say. which is, you know, I can certainly appreciate where they're coming from, and I do hope they are successful in that. But those are the different approaches that we have in terms of expanding our respective empires. I think the easiest way to describe it is that we are looking to incorporate other micronations, as well as other micronationalists, into the Empire of Stomaria, whereas they're focused on trying to assimilate other micronations, or more specifically other micronationalists, into the Empire of Aeternia, to the point where it is just the Empire of Aeternia as opposed to the Empire of Stomaria, which comprises of various other micronations. So the first thing that we're going to be looking to do is have a trading relationship, initially on just sort of a tokenized basis, if that makes sense. So it'll be a token trading relationship initially, where we'll be sending Stomarian stata in exchange for copper ingot that they have themselves created and hallmarked, which is great because it's something that a micronation has taken, you know, just scrap copper, they've melted it down, they've formed it into something pure, so it'll be pure copper, and they've hallmarked it with their emblem. And that is something that we're going to be quite happy to receive. It'll be a little a token of our friendship, of the relationship that we're trying to build, and so that's one of the first things that we're going to be looking to do, as well as the exchange of the Stomarian stata for the copper ingot from Aeternia. We're also going to be exchanging merchandise. So we're going to be sending them, you know, things like a Stomarian flag or a pin badge, and they're going to be sending us some of their own merchandise to us. So we look forward to receiving those, and we look forward to showing you some of the Aeternian merchandise that we will eventually have, and I'm sure they'll make their own video about the Stomaria merchandise that we've sent them. So again, it's just another little token gesture in terms of building closer ties, closer collaboration, and it's just, again, one more thing that we're able to do with the Empire of Aeternia, as they're, again, one of the micronations, one of the few micronations, comparatively speaking, that has the capacity to create these sorts of things and distribute them to their supporters and to other micronations such as us. We're also going to be looking to make some collaborative videos at some point in the future. I know Emperor AP is quite busy at the moment with various bits and bobs, but we will be looking to make collaborative videos about particular issues, either micronational, regarding the micronational community at large, or micronationalism in general, but also about specific issues, be it, you know, the energy or the environment or anything like this. And so eventually you will hopefully see some collaborative videos on both of our channels, and that will be another way of generating interest in each other's communities, I suppose. And there are a few more things that we are currently discussing in terms of how we can send the right message to the micronational community and to the wider world at large, I suppose, as to what can be accomplished if we do, you know, have that sort of unity, that cooperation between different micronations that share similar values, similar goals, and similar objectives. And we will be making videos at a later date, I'm sure, that go over exactly, specifically, what we are going to be doing. I'm not going to be discussing this here, because these are things that we are still discussing ourselves as to what we can do. But I just wanted to make this video just to highlight, I suppose, that we are currently in talks with the Empire of Aeternia as to how we can collaborate in some form and build a more formal relationship going forward. And so I suppose the last thing I'd like to say is that they have been striving to monetize their YouTube channel for a long time now, and for any of our supporters who are interested in micronationalism, or interested in learning more about the Empire of Aeternia in particular, I would encourage you to go in, subscribe to their YouTube channel, watch a couple of videos, help them to boost those watch hours up, because they do have the subscriber count. They're on, 1,500, 1,600, somewhere around that sort of figure. But they are currently struggling to get that 4,000 watch hour time. They're sort of in the low 3,000s, I think, at the moment. 3,100, 3,200, I think, last time I checked. Or last time they announced how many watch hours they had. But the getting that monetized for them would be a big help for them. So if you can, go over, watch a couple of videos, I'm sure they'd very much appreciate it. So if you enjoyed that video and you want to play a part in the Empire of Stomaria's growth and development, then please feel free to become a citizen through our Patreon campaign, the link of which I shall leave in the description below as always. But otherwise, feel free to give the video a like, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and we'll catch you in the next one.